Welcome to That's OD. It's your boy Ohm, where we talk all things LA hoops. I'm here with my boy Dave McMenamin. Dave, I am wearing a Whitney Houston shirt. It is not to celebrate the Houston Astros. I see you're wearing the Phillies. You're a Philly guy. I was in
That's
Houston
right.
last night, but I'm just wearing Whitney Houston just for the heck of it. So
You just want to dance with somebody?
yes, I do. I always want to dance, and I'm always so emotional. Speaking about emotional, as the Lakers turn, this is what we always start That's OD with. The latest in the Lakers world. Have they found something, Dave? Could the Lakers be turning the corner?
Let's put it this way. They have continued to buy into Darvin Ham's defensive-minded system, and that's allowed them to stay competitive in just about every game they played. The only game I would say out of the group that looked pretty bad was the second half in Denver. And if you think about that game, Anthony Davis was hampered by his back. He ended up missing the next game, Minnesota, because of it. And he, quite frankly, couldn't get up and down the court, and Denver killed them in transition. The rest of the games, and I talked to LeBron about this after the win that they had back at home, their second consecutive win. And he said that all we want to do is have a chance every night. And currently we have that. And right now the vibes are kind of good. Like, I'm not going to go overboard and say that they're out of the woods. But if they continue to play this brand of basketball and have guys healthy, having Anthony Davis on the court being able to do what he does makes a difference. Having Troy Brown Jr. on the court, who had a double-double and is starting to find his outside shot as well, that makes a difference. And those are some of the pieces that they haven't necessarily had at 100% to start the year. And you could start to say that, they'll start to beat up on some easier teams too, because they've had a pretty heavy loaded schedule to start the year with teams that we'll see in the postseason.
We didn't even get to talk about this. I think the Myles Turner stuff to Woj came out after our last show. I was wondering what you thought about that. And, seeing that they've won 2 games, do you think that maybe this is kind of, I don't know, maybe put that any trade talk on the back burner for now?
I think if the Lakers could game it as perfectly as they could choose, it would be they play out the first 35 games or so and stay competitive. Don't have a big gap between them and the teams they'll be chasing in the Western Conference playoff picture. And then see what deals pop up throughout the league, the teams that are going to let go of the rope at that point and go full on the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. And, of course, a team like Indiana, we figure that trade will still be around come January and February. We figure a team like the Utah Jazz will still be looking to offload pieces come January and February. What the Lakers want to happen is new people enter into the conversation, whether that be the Charlotte Hornets with guys like Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, or perhaps the Chicago Bulls. Maybe DeMar DeRozan gets his wish and ends up on the LA Lakers a year and a half afterwards because the Bulls recognize that they're not going to get anything this season because of injuries. That's the ideal scenario, plus having Russell Westbrook be a productive member of the team in the interim. And we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, I'm wondering do you think if the price tag goes down to 1 first-round pick instead of 2, do you think that's much more appealing to the Lakers? Like they might pull the trigger on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think what they are trying to do is virtually impossible in pro sports. It's plan for the future while put everything towards the middle of the table for the present while you're trying to maximize an aging superstar. It's such a tough dance to pull off, but it's my opinion that there is an understanding within the Lakers front office that it would be worth it to part with one of those 2 picks to make this team more competitive, but certainly not worth it for the 2 picks. And I think what this current team needs to do with LeBron and AD and Darvin Ham is convince the front office that absolutely, without a doubt, that trading one of those picks is worth it. And if they start to look good, which I know they're only 2-5, so let's not go crazy, but if they do start to look good, then there would be an argument to trade both the picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think 1 pick, obviously, I think Myles Turner, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think he'd be a very good fit on this team. I think the Lakers, look, it's not good enough for LeBron to be fighting for the play-in. You need to be like a solid playoff contender to really maximize LeBron. And so I feel like, look, Myles Turner, Buddy Hield, they would do that. They would make them a solid, I would say, I think they're in contention for what, maybe 5, maybe even the 4th seed. Who knows? But I think as of now, they're a playing game. So I think you're right. For Rob, the best thing to do is to hold out a little bit longer, as long as he can, see that price tag go down and see what else becomes available. Dave, on the other side of Los Angeles, the Clippers were struggling at the exact same time as the Lakers. I believe the Lakers were 30th in offense and the Clippers were 29th. This is not how we envisioned things going in LA. The Clippers lost 4 straight games, 2 in Oklahoma City, back-to-back in OKC. That was where Kawhi Leonard experienced stiffness in his knee, and he has been out now for 5 games. It'll be 6 on Friday against San Antonio. And the Clippers did not look good. Dave, I got to tell you, the other night when they beat Houston to snap this 4-game losing streak, they needed Paul George to play like a superstar. They were down 5 with like a minute 30 to go. And they were lucky to be down 5, Dave. They looked bad. In that 4-game losing streak, Dave, they were outplayed, out-hustled by Oklahoma City. They lost to New Orleans. It wasn't even close, okay? Like the other night, the Lakers beat New Orleans. The Clippers weren't even in that game against New Orleans when they played them. And so they just looked really bad. I think in their 4 losses, 3 of them were by like 14 or more points. So they were not even competitive. They look like a veteran team. As Marcus Morris Sr. said, we look like we just thought we were going to walk on the court and win the game based on who we had on the roster and how stacked it was. And we were putting forth no effort. And these lesser teams were beating us. So I will say, like with Kawhi, obviously that has a big impact on them. I've been told that his knee is not a serious thing as far as like, we're not going to wake up tomorrow and see that perhaps, Kawhi Leonard's out for the year or anything like that. But certainly he is feeling something in his knee, enough that they obviously sent him home and they have held him out. And I got to tell you something, Dave, their schedule is packed. After they play San Antonio on Friday, they play Utah at home in the first of a back-to-back. I think they got Cleveland right after that. Then they got the Lakers. And then they got a 2-day window before they play the Nets on Saturday. So at some point, I don't know, maybe we'll see Kawhi back. I don't know. Their schedule is incredibly packed this month in November. So, I would think you'd want to see him get a practice in. But of course, these days you can just bring him in and get a workout in with somebody else. But I don't know. I think they're going to err on the caution. Everything I hear is that they just want to make sure Kawhi is healthy come playoff time. And, it's a little concerning that he's already going to be out 6 straight games, if not more.
Yeah, I know you reported early on that the team was looking at this as basically a 2-month process before they would even start to judge themselves in terms of what they could look like in the postseason. And that's fair enough. It is a really long NBA season. But to me, this development with Kawhi leaving a trip, which was obviously unplanned, he wouldn't have gone to OKC in the first place if he thought he was going to need treatment back in Los Angeles. You're almost turning this into a 3-month process. I mean, we're 3 weeks into this NBA season, and what can you lean on that the Clippers have done thus far that you say, well, that's something that they're building on towards the future? I think they're still plugging in gaps. You see, they're tried out different starting lineups. And again, if Kawhi Leonard is going to be the guy that leads them in the postseason towards perhaps the greatest run they've ever had as a franchise, it's got to be him recognizing how to play with all these new teammates. So again, because the Clippers have so much talent and the NBA season is so long, I'm not overly concerned. But at some point, we're going to want to see them look actually good so they can actually have a chance to live up to the hype.
Dave, I think that's going to be a minute, man. I think it's going to be like Marcus Morris said, it's going to be 2 seasons. It's going to be one half where they basically look like this, and they're just trying to get some sort of rhythm and continuity. And then the second half, all of a sudden, John Wall and Kawhi Leonard are playing bigger minutes. But I got to tell you, that second half, Dave, because their schedule is so front-loaded, after the All-Star break, I believe they have 21 games. That's a lot of practice time, which is good, but not a lot of time on the court in games, and you know what happens at the end of the season. They're going to start resting guys because they don't want to
Yeah.
risk anything. So they're going to enter the playoffs with a lack of continuity, lack of rhythm, lack of chemistry. It's all the same questions. We'll be talking about it all season long. Let's move to LA Confidential, where we kind of unload some of the things in our notebook. Dave, the Lakers finally got their first win against Denver. I told you this last week. They were going to beat the Nuggets because the Nuggets sometimes they're up and down. And, sure, Michael Malone wasn't happy about that. But, hey, they still got to work Jamal Murray back in and Michael Porter Jr. But Lakers finally get their first win. And then what happens?
So, again, they broke through. The Lakers had no preseason wins at Crypto.com Arena, right? And obviously, up to that point, had no regular season wins. They started the year 0-5. So you're going back to like April since the last time the Lakers had a home win at Crypto.com Arena. Now, one of the bells and whistles that the Lakers provide for fans who shell out all that money to come see them in Los Angeles is when they get a win, they trade it big time. You hear Randy Newman blaring on the PA system.
I love LA.
And coming down from the rafters are purple and gold streamers. Well, when the Lakers beat the Nuggets, you hear I love LA. There's nothing falling from the rafters. And I talked to someone who works for the organization, and he told me, like, yeah, we pressed the button. We punched the button. We were hoping to have those streamers come flying down, but they kind of been up there for a while. And something got mucked up in the system, and they never deployed. And so that's a little telling about how things have been for the Lakers this last season or two, that even something as simple as that can't go right. But I can report that their second win at home against New Orleans Pelicans, the streamers came down and everything's back to normal.
Dave,
you got something?
Dave, you probably know this. I love game ops. I am very much a big fan of game ops. So obviously with the Lakers and the Clippers, they celebrate their wins differently. Lakers have Randy Newman, I love LA, I love it. And then there's the Clippers when they win, it's California Love, Dr. Dre and Tupac. And then, everything is super loud in Clipper games. Laker games, they got they got the organ, they got the band there and everything. I still wonder where the band is. I always look up because they have a live band that plays like a guitar and everything. And I look up and I'm like, where are they? I swear I spent 4 seasons trying to find the band and I've never seen them.
We got to work on your observational skills, though. I can point it out to you next time.
So anyways, my LA Confidential is John Wall, who returned to Houston, played in a game for the first time since I think April 2021. And he pulled out a vintage John Wall move where he came and stole the ball from behind as the Rockets were taking it up court, turned the corner, came back, drove the lane, did a behind the back dribble, and probably maybe he would have had a layup, but it would have been contested. But instead, over the back pass to backup center Moses Brown for the dunk. It was quite the highlight. I asked Paul George what he thought of the play, and Paul said, actually, before the game, John and I were talking about this, saying, when are you going to bring out the vintage behind the back dribble when you go into the paint? Because in Paul's words, he basically thought it was unstoppable. And so we finally got to see it. And I think this is an element that John Wall gives the Clippers that they just haven't had, is an absolute quarterback who sees the floor, but really can find his big man. He is very good at setting up his big man. If you remember back in Washington, he used to do this with Marcin Gortat. They used to have a lot of pick and rolls, and then Gortat would roll or Gortat could pop. I think, somebody like Ivica Zubac is going to benefit from this, or even a small. I even asked Paul George, I said, how much do you want to kind of catch that pass and come down that lane and dunk? And Paul George, being humble, was like, yeah, I don't know, it might be a layup. Of course, Paul George can throw him down with some of the best of them, but we got to see some good vintage John Wall in Houston.
One more question on that. What color uniforms were the Houston Rockets wearing that game?
I think they were wearing their red.
They were in the red. So
yeah.
What Moses Brown should have said afterwards is John Wall parted the Red Sea, and I had a wide open dunk.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. Look at that. Look at that little post there.
You got to pass these lines over to these guys. Come on, man.
Yes, I do have to. Our next segment, let's move on. We love playing this game. Hollywood Star or LA Car Chase, Dave. Hollywood star, somebody's had a good week, trending up, maybe eventually gets their hands put in the cement, or LA car chase, which is a drama that's going to play out. We see it unfolding from 15,000 feet above in a helicopter, and we're following to see how this ends. My Hollywood star this week is going to be Paul George, Dave. Paul George has to play like a superstar in order for this Clippers team to win right now without Kawhi. At Sacramento, he scored 40. I think he had 48 and 8 for them to win. The other night, for just them to pull them out of their mess against Houston, Paul George had to hit a clutch three with 40 seconds ago. Then he hits the game winner over Eric Gordon with a fadeaway, and I think he had 35 points. He had a ridiculous line with 6 steals. Paul George obviously is going to be my star, but they need him to play this way. And I got to tell you, I didn't even tell you this, Dave. The relief I saw on the faces of people in the Clippers organization, whether it was assistant coaches to anybody in the front office or just employees, was unbelievable after that game. Because remember, they had lost 4 straight. They had lost 2 at Oklahoma City, lost really bad to New Orleans at home. Had they lost at home to Houston and Paul George wasn't able to pull that out, whoa, boy, it would have been really bad going into Houston. But of course, they're on the 2-game winning streak. Who is your Hollywood star?
None other than Lonnie Walker IV, who the Lakers got as a kind of bargain basement free agent this past offseason. They used the mid-level exception, taxpayers mid-level exception, I should say. And he certainly has had flashes of brilliance so far this season. I think he was the Lakers' leading scorer in their opening home game against the LA Clippers, but he had been really inconsistent with his shot. Fast forward to the Pelicans game, and he couldn't miss. You know, he hit 5 3-pointers, was making plays on both ends. And I love the quote that he told Mike Trudell of Spectrum Sports afterwards. Of course, Lonnie Walker, before Matt Ryan could hit that hero shot with 1.3 seconds left as the buzzer went off to send it to overtime, Lonnie had a great butt naked look on the wing. That's a Ty Lue term in case our fans don't know it. Ty Lue likes to say if a guy has a wide open 3-pointer, it's called a butt naked look.
You know what? Lonnie, he hasn't used that with us.
Oh man, you got to get him to use it. But Lonnie had a wide open look all the time in the world. About 7 seconds to go, could have tied the game in regulation. He misses it. But he had been shooting well prior to that moment, and then come overtime, he gets time on the court, continued to get faith from Darvin Ham. He hits a 3 in overtime, and that helped them pull away for the victory. And he told Mike Trudell afterwards, man, my shot's just too beautiful not to be falling at a better rate. And so I love the confidence out of young Lonnie Walker IV. And, he could be a guy that, Adam Silver and the Olympic Tower, NBA powers that be are paying attention to come February. They love getting a Laker in the dunk contest. Lonnie can Lonnie Skywalker. So we could see him perhaps at Salt Lake City for All-Star Weekend among the league's best dunkers. I think you could do much worse than inviting Lonnie.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Lonnie become a fan favorite if he isn't already, because of the dunks, because of the exciting athleticism. And then young Matt Ryan, who I still think like he should have the face paint on or something, because I still think a quarterback, Matt Ryan, whenever I hear that name. But that was a hell of a shot, hell of a way to not get his feet out of bounds. That was incredible play. Shout out Darvin Ham. My card chase is going to be the Clippers bench for now. Ty Lue has basically been complaining about this. Now he's putting a lot of the blame on him, saying that he's got to do better and find better concepts for the bench to thrive in, and maybe perhaps change what he wants from them, because he thinks it might be a little too complicated. I mean, I think maybe he's being a little too harsh on himself, because right now you got John Wall in and out. He's not playing in back-to-backs because the Clippers are still monitoring his minutes, and he's really only playing like 20-plus minutes per game. So you kind of don't have John Wall really running that second unit the way he probably wants to. And then there really isn't like the trying to go small by not having to play a big backup center, but that's not really working, and especially with Kawhi Leonard out and Robert Covington went into health and safety protocols. They're a little small lineup where Ty Lue envisions 5 guys, interchangeable, all defending like 6'8" wing guys. Hasn't really been able to get off the ground. So Ty Lue's complaining about the bench right now. Norm Powell has been a little bit up and down. He's been very up and down. He's been kind of in a slump. We haven't seen the Norm Powell that we expect to see. And Ty Lue's been using him as kind of like the 6th man to come off the bench. So we got to see him really kind of like come to life. Who is your LA car chest, Dave?
I think we've heard this name in this category of our show before, but we got to talk about Russell Westbrook. And it looked like everything was trending in the right direction. Right? He comes off the bench in Minnesota. The Lakers don't win that game, but he was playing a pass-first style of ball. He was playing with excellent energy. You saw the defensive commitment that he brought late in that game. He's asked to guard a 7'1" Rudy Gobert. He doesn't complain about it. He gives his best effort there. He had a couple over the top deflections in that position. He puts it together even better in the first win of the season against Denver, 18-8-8. And he was dynamite in the first half against New Orleans, a near triple-double in the first half alone. But as the game progressed, there was different matchups that were working better for Darvin Ham. And the final 3 minutes or so of the fourth quarter and all of overtime, Russell Westbrook is on the bench while the Lakers are salvaging a win against the Pelicans. And quite frankly, it was apparent to myself, it was apparent to other people in the locker room who I spoke to that Russ's body language was not buying in. Once he got pulled and put on the bench late in the fourth quarter, you saw him, kind of separate himself from his teammates, not necessarily like sitting at the end of the bench or anything like that, but while the Lakers were still in crucial possessions after crucial possessions, and there was one time when they got a score, another time when they got a stop, where you saw everybody on the bench cheering, being into it. He is there, kind of stewing in his own emotions. And he needs to get over that to unlock everything he could potentially give this team. Because I will tell you, the team was ready to embrace him and really praising him for the level of sacrifice that he showed in taking this bench role. And he took a big leap forward by embracing that role and showing some success. But he was kind of his own worst enemy against the Pelicans, the way he reacted to a decision that was meant to help the team. And Russell Westbrook has said several times this season already that I've told Darvin Ham, I've told my teammates, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win. Well, you got to not just say it, you got to show it as well. And all these things like body language, they matter a lot. And so it's not full car chase. I would say just a fender bender, because he has saved himself by being productive in this 6-man role. And Darvin Ham even said after the Pelicans win, despite the way Russell handled that benching, that he wants Russell to get 6th man of the year. That's his goal for him. So, there's still a pathway forward here for Russ. But if the first step was recognizing that you're not going to start and getting over that, now he needs to recognize that you're not always going to end and getting over that. And if he can do that and bring the same level of energy, pass first basketball, playing with thrust, getting up and down the court, enjoying the game, bringing joy to the court, he can really help this team. But he needs to make sure that he is, as my guy Kobe Altman in Cleveland likes to say, he wants him to be, a sprinkler, not a drain.
I do have a quick question. Do you think the Lakers have found something with him defending bigs? I mean, like I also saw an offense, like he took Zion Williamson off the dribble, scored. Obviously, he has to do things like that. But I wonder, like, with him defending bigs, I mean, it's not going to last. Obviously, you don't want him defending like Jokic all the time. But do you think that's something that might help him stay on the floor as opposed to, not being able to defend, like, say, quicker point guards?
Yeah, I think it's just an added thing that Darvin Ham can use him certain situations, right? Like we saw this back in the day when Josh Hart was on the Lakers. Luke Walton was the coach. Josh Hart, not the quickest perimeter defender, certainly great defensive instincts and good strength, but he recognized, Luke did, that I could put him on a guy in the post, and Josh is going to give him as hard a time as pretty much any of our bigs. And I think Darvin's starting to see that with Russ. And the great part about that is that it's another way for Russ to feel like he's being appreciated by this team, because I think that's kind of been part of the entire problem in the time he's been in LA, that he hasn't felt like everybody has, kind of kissed the ring. Well, this is a way for him to prove it, for the Lakers to appreciate it, and for him to get back in the Hollywood star conversation versus the LA car chase. And I think what we got one more thing on the rundown. Oh yeah. Oh, bonus. Oh, what's that? Phillies in the World Series.
Oh,
Let's
man.
go, baby. We got the
Ah.
Eagles undefeated. Phillies in the World Series for the first time since 2009. It is a great time to be a Philadelphia native. That is week. What are we at? 5, 6 of That's OD?
Yep.
I can't even count at this point. We are well into the season, and we got more games coming up next week. We're always going to have you locked down. Lakers, Clippers, full breakdown. For Ohm, I'm Dave. Treat the game well, and it will treat you well. Go Phils.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.